Thank you, and welcome back to the Patriots 300 Level Podcast. My name is Eric. I'm joined by my co-host Kevin. Welcome back for our 58th episode this week, as we will be previewing the Patriots season opener versus the Philadelphia Eagles this upcoming Sunday. As a reminder, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Pat's 300 Level Pod for up-to-the-minute updates and commentary on news of the day, as well as at our website at pats300levelpod.com. So, Kevin, it's finally here after almost a 9-month wait. Patriots are back in real football. Really big task this upcoming Sunday versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Should be an interesting match, but they definitely have their work cut out for them. What are your thoughts just going into the game?
Yeah, I think the initial thoughts is just excited that it's finally here. Finally get to watch some football. It does kind of suck the summer's already over with because we basically didn't really have a summer here
You
in the
didn't. I
Northeast.
did.
It was basically rain and not really warm at all until this last week. But really excited for this, and also excited this is the Brady honoring at halftime. Kraft said that's going to be something really special and really unique, which I'm actually interested in seeing because I don't know what could be so unique and special compared to
And
what
being
they've
the
usually
second
done.
player to have his number retired with the
And
Patriots,
that's
second and
what I'm
third.
gonna. I have to guess, or they're gonna unveil like a statue they're gonna put out, or they're gonna unveil something like a statue that'll go on the top of that. You know what would be really unique is if they unveil a statue that's gonna go on top of the lighthouse. That would be unique if they could do that. But that
Yeah, you
I
never
don't
know.
think it's gonna happen. But it would be, that statue that's in as a Dubai or Mecca or something like that. One of those.
You mean the Jesus statue that's in Brazil?
Yes. I think it'll. If there was something like that with the lighthouse, I think it'd be actually really kind of cool. But anyway, excited for that. I'll be at the game. Obviously, I'll be giving my kind of. I probably won't be as tweeting as much from the show account, but Erica will be, and keeping everyone kind of apprised of what our thoughts and his thoughts mainly of what's going on. So hopefully it's something good. But again, the Eagles, they're going to be a really tough competitor, and last year they're ranked first in the NFC. They're 14-3, and that was with Jalen Hurts being hurt for the last couple of games and not playing. And they made it to the Super Bowl. Obviously, they ended up losing, which they should have won. I think if it hadn't been for a couple of really bad calls. But who was to say? There's some really bad calls last night when we
Yeah.
were watching the Thursday night game because the NFL loves the Chiefs, and the right tackle could basically false start every single snap and line up in the wrong spot every single snap and not get called until 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So it's a little ridiculous. It's so obvious. Even Chris Collinsworth was calling it out, and he's one to never ever call out the NFL because he did before, and then I think he kind of usually if you do, you end up getting like called aside, and they really threaten you and that sort of stuff. So if he was doing it, and everyone was on the whole Twitter timeline, everyone was complaining that every single snap you could see this happen. But again, I'm getting a little off track here with the
The
Eagles.
thing that worries me though about that is since it was so blatant and obvious, I feel like the NFL is going to put out a memo this week,
Hmm.
and they're going to overcorrect it, and then we're going to
Hmm.
see Trent Brown have 6 or 7 false
Yeah.
starts or whatever. But
Yeah, that's what. Or if they don't, maybe he could use it to his advantage and start false starting all the time because he did it last year. So,
yeah,
but again, Eagles, really tough competitor, strong on offense and defense. Jalen Hurts, I still don't think the story's really written about him fully. Is kind of what a quarterback is he going to be? Because what is he going to look like without the weapons around him? I think is kind of the big question. So he looks
I
great.
I think I understand your premise, but
Mhm.
he has two of the best young wide receivers in football, and AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. So unless
Mhm.
they both get hurt or traded, we're not going to have to worry about that the next 4+ years at least.
Yeah, but that's why you can't really evaluate him as a quarterback. Is
I
he
think you
just a
still can.
kind of? But you like if you're saying he's a top five quarterback, I don't know if I could fully commit to. I probably could just because the quarterback play right now is so bad that really once you get out of like we did this exercise in the off season, but it was either I think after 6 or 7, everyone's just the same. It's all Jimmy Garoppolo-esque, where I love
Yeah,
Jimmy, but like
I don't.
it's that same
Yeah.
type of quarterback. Him, Kirk Cousins, Matt Stafford, Mac Jones, all those people that you lump into one thing. There's not really anyone where before you would have a clear cut 10. Right now it's 6 ish. Um,
So the thing I'll disagree with you on two fronts is yes, I think he's a top five quarterback. Absolutely. I think it might be fair to say, is he in that Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen category? I wouldn't put him in that top three echelon yet. I
Hmm.
think he's right below that, but we'll have to see this year. Maybe with defensive coordinators getting the book on him,
Hmm.
having a whole off season, he might regress. That's something that might happen. But if he continues where he was, takes another next step,
Hmm.
I think he definitely is in that category.
Yeah.
So I think it's fair to say he's not in with Mahomes Burrow yet, but we'll have to wait and see. But I think it's you can still judge him based on his what kind of quarterback he is because Kirk Cousins had Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen,
Hmm.
and we never once said he's a top five quarterback, top 10
Yeah.
quarterback. But
That's true. Yeah. So again, I think that's the other thing is I just need to see it more where it's only been what a year and a half
yeah,
or so. So
yeah.
um we've seen quarterbacks do really well for 1 year, and then once the kind of the book gets out on them, where they do to adjust. And then how does he physically hold up? He had the injury last year. He had the injury back at Alabama with the high ankle sprain. And he had the tightrope surgery done there, and we know that that can somewhat make it a little bit harder to recover even in the future. So could something like that linger again and pop up? We don't know. So it'll just be interesting to see. I do think he's a really good quarterback and a really good first test for this defense. It's going to hurt that Jack Jones is the only one that's declared out so far for the game.
Yeah.
Um, and but they do have some other good secondary pieces with it. So talking about the offense first, and we talked about Jalen Hurts and the two weapons that he has. I think those are kind of really self-explanatory. What else would you be looking for going up against this team from our defense versus their offense?
Yeah, the thing with them is they're just very well-rounded team.
Hmm.
Good in passing with Jalen Hurts, and then also
Hmm.
having Devonta Smith and AJ Brown as your top two
Hmm.
weapons, and Dallas Goedert at tight end as well. At running attack last year, they were fifth in the league in rushing. In addition to having an elite passing game, they have a good offensive line, so they're pretty much well-rounded. And then the same goes to defense too, which we'll get to in a minute, but it's definitely going to be a tough test. I'm interested to see how the Patriots are going to go uh, try and attack this offense, especially with Jack Jones being out. Are you going to put Christian Gonzalez on Devonta Smith, who's smaller, a little
Hmm.
faster? Are you going to put Jonathan Jones on him? Are you going to do it? Essentially have a deep safety wherever AJ Brown is. Who are you going to put on Dallas Goedert? Is it going to be Duggar? Is it going to be Phillips? Is it going to be Peppers? So there's a lot of different chess pieces that they can play with, which can at least help. They can play to their advantage even without having Jack
Hmm.
Jones. But I think it's going to be fascinating to see. I think we're going to see a lot of four, maybe five safety schemes. Is that going to throw Jalen Hurts for a loop? Because I doubt he's seen that before. So we'll have to wait and see it. Are they going to play man zone? I
Hmm.
really have no idea.
Yep. I think that's the other thing too with Jalen Hurts that we haven't just seen enough of just because he hasn't been in the league enough is how does he handle the different schemes that get thrown at him. It's only
Yeah.
been a year. They teams take a little while to adjust by seeing all the tape. So Patriots having a full off season to kind of really watch him, and usually they prepare the most. Every team prepares the most for the first game. What kind of wrinkles they're going to throw that he hasn't seen, and we've seen that with the Chargers and Herbert, where Herbert does usually really well against most teams, but Bill has always found something on Herbert to get him every single time they play him. So is that going to be something similar with Hurts, where he can throw something at him that he hasn't seen and they can't really adjust that quick? I think the other big thing with their offense is the RPOs,
Yep.
and that being the Patriots are really are not have not been good against the RPO. Really going back ever. Starting with the Eagles back in 2018 or 2017, 2017, whatever that
Which,
Super Bowl was.
that was 2017.
2017. Yeah, 2018 was the Rams. So they had difficulty then. They've usually had difficulty a lot just because their linebackers haven't been fast enough. But with this year, with even more of the safety help that they have with Matt Poo and kind of the speed that they have, is that going to be enough? And that's going to be kind of really the first test to see do they have enough speed. And again, I wouldn't say it's the test for the overall season, just because some of these players like Matt Boo and Keon White and all of them, it is their first time playing together. So it may take 6, 8 games to really know what you have, but it's a good initial test to see how you're going to handle this and are you going to be improved where you usually struggle with mobile quarterbacks and you struggle with the RPO just because the team isn't fast enough. So I think that is a really big test at first for them.
Yeah, and I think you bring up an interesting point too, where with the RPO and Jalen Hurts being more
Mm-hmm.
mobile, I wonder if we're going to see more of Duggar or Peppers or Phillips in the box, essentially
Mm-hmm.
acting as linebackers. So you do have that more speed. They don't have
Mm-hmm.
to be in coverage. I think one of them will be covering Godart,
Mm-hmm.
but when they're not covering them, either having the one that's one of the two not
Mm-hmm.
deep, just in the box as an additional linebacker with
Yeah.
speed. So we'll have to
Yeah,
wait and
I
see.
if I had to guess, I would say Duggar is going to be the one covering Goddard, just because we've seen a lot last year where he was the one that was trying to take out the lead tight end for each team. I think Pitts was one of them, and I can't remember who else, but he usually did a pretty good job against the tight ends, and I feel like he's gotten more comfortable.
Yeah.
You could even see it this offseason training camp where he trusted more of his instinct and would jump balls rather than kind of hesitate. So it'd be interesting to see that. I think one other quick note: it's not going to be a huge part of this game, but it is going to be something we probably see at least 2 to 3 times. Would be the kind of mush rush rugby sneak, where
Yeah.
if it's 4th and 2, 4th and 1, even maybe sometimes 4th and 3, they do that rugby style thing where they have Hurts take the ball, but they have like 3 or 4 people behind him pushing him ahead. And I was actually really shocked that they didn't outlaw this during the
Yeah, same.
competition committee, just because a lot of people, even safety personnel, were saying it wasn't a safe play. And number two, it's not fair enough for the defense where they don't have the leverage to defend that play, where it's completely sided to the offense. So it'll be interesting to see if they do run that, and do the Patriots figure out a way, because Belichick's love of rugby and other sports. Is there going to be a way that he figures out how to stop that? Has he talked with a rugby team, which I wouldn't be shocked me? Um, how is he going to defend that? So it'll just a little interesting little nugget.
Yep, I agree completely. Nothing else to add.
All right. Their defense. How are the Patriots going to attack them?
It's a good question. I think the big part is going to be what the offensive line looks like, especially considering the right tackle's situation for offseason has been a question mark with Riley
Mm-hmm.
Reeve going to the IR, Calvin Anderson being pretty much missing all of preseason. How healthy is he going to be? Is he going to be in football shape? Also, is Onwenu and Cole Strange going to be back in football shape too,
Mm-hmm.
along with Trent Brown? I think the first key is they're going to have to establish the run game.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagles' defense was number one last year in pass yards allowed, number ones in sacks by far, with 70 sacks or 4.1 sacks per
Mm-hmm.
game. The next closest was the Chiefs with 55. So they have 15 more sacks compared to the second team. Second in pressure, fourth in interceptions, while only blitzing. They were in middle of the pack in blitzing of only 22%, but they were still getting pressure on more than a quarter of plays without any blitz. So I think you're going to have to establish the running attack. And then it helps with having both Mondre and Zeke. Granted, Mondre missed practice today. Today's Friday with a stomach bug, but reports are there's no concern for Sunday. So
Mm-hmm.
it might just be cautious, but you're going to have to establish the running attack, mix in some play action, and then probably mix in some draws or some screens as well
Mm-hmm.
to get pretty much hold back that pass rush, keep them hesitant at first, and then that's when you can establish the deeper passing game. So that's what I'm expecting to see. Granted, you never know with Bill what he plans to do, but considering how good this defense is, especially their pressure, that's what I would expect to happen.
Yep, I was going to say I agree completely. I think you're going to see a lot of running at first, just because when you have an offensive line, it's kind of a question mark. Run the for the not run protection basically is a little bit easier to do than pass protection, because you're just basically both going ahead. You're not kind of standing back waiting for someone. An offensive line love to block for the run. So it is a good thing when your offensive line is struggling a bit to try and get some momentum that way. The other thing would be quick passes, like you said. They've been doing a lot of RPOs, so a lot of RPOs with quick passes, with screens and quick slants, and a lot of these different quick plays. I'm really expecting to see. And I wouldn't be shocked if you see a lot of different like end arounds where you throw in Pop Douglas for that, maybe even Marcus Jones a little bit every once in a while, just to throw things off, because we haven't seen him all this preseason there. I feel like I need to at least kind of hold on to this somehow, because I predicted he was going to have a big value in the offense, but that was before they drafted Douglas. So I need to kind of hold through and hope that it happens and make my prediction right. I don't think it's going to fully happen now. It seems like they want to have him more on defense now, especially since they also have Pop Douglas, who's pretty much the same player. I think he's actually,
and Jack Jones is out too, so you're down a cornerback.
Yeah. So, but I think you're going to see a lot of that to try and speed it up. And you definitely know that Bill O'Brien's going to have something up his sleeve, just because he is, I would say, one of the top probably 5 play callers out there. I think he's actually a little bit. He's going to bring a little bit more ingenuity, a little bit more creativity than some of the stuff that McDaniels have, just because he's seen a little bit more than McDaniels. So there's a few more wrenches he could throw in there that maybe McDaniels didn't have in his toolkit. Anything else?
I think the only other thing was I'd expect. And you never know, but my guess would be we would see a lot of production this week from Douglas and Kendrick Bourne. Not saying they're going to have a lot of yards, but I can definitely see them having a lot of catches where quick 3-step drop and then screen or slant to Douglas or Bourne, where either of them could have maybe 6-7 catches. It might only be for 20-25 yards, but those will add up. And then once that you get that quick pass game going, then that's when you can open up the longer game, and you could do some deep routes to Parker if he plays, if he's healthy, or add in some Juju as well.
Yep, and don't forget Booty.
Yep.
All right, moving on. A little segment I think we may throw in here every week, just because it's been happening more and more. The fake news media notes of the week. First one, Mike Giardi. I know we've talked a lot about him recently, been tweeting at him a lot, just because ever since he went to Boston Sports Journal, he's really kind of changed his journalism tactics over the last few months. But when the captains were announced, so the Patriots, as you may have seen, announced their captains. Pretty much no surprise there. The only change from last year is McCoy retired and Hunter Henry took his place. Giardi's tweet was 3 of the 6 captains are players who really, really disliked the offensive setup last year. And honestly, no shit, because 5 of the 6 captains are still there. There's no change. The only change is Hunter Henry replacing him. That makes sense, because really you're really defensive heavy last year. You really should be adding an offensive player, and Hunter Henry is one of the more tenured ones, and really kind of calm, cool, and collected, and kind of
and established in this offense too.
Yes, so there's no surprise that Hunter Henry is a captain, and nothing of this has to do with anything with the offensive system from last year. So that's just him trying to stir up the pot, like he's been doing lately, trying to get clicks, trying to get more page views, and it doesn't make sense at all, other than the reasons that he has. And then Burt Breer, if you want to handle this one.
So during I believe it was the Lighthouse or the Gillette Stadium press conference or opening that Robert Kraft had yesterday regarding the new lighthouse and scoreboard and everything, he was saying that he's really excited about this team going forward, how it's a young team. And then Breer tweeted out after, quote, he said, quote, the Patriots have the NFL's 5th oldest roster. So if you actually look at it, technically they do. However, their average age is 26 years and 11 months or 10 months. There are 24 teams in the NFL with an average age of 26. You're pretty much all right around the same thing. It's not like their average age is 30 and then the next closest is 26 or 27. They're all right around the same pot. And then for further analysis, if you were to remove Matthew Slater, who's turning 39 tomorrow, and just replace him with a 26-year-old who would be 3rd year or 4th year player, they have the 6th youngest team in the NFL. and Matthew Slater is just one player who's on special teams. So it's just another snarky media member trying to just be arrogant and point things out for the sake of stirring the pot and getting clicks in. Like you said, it's something that we've been addressing every single week. And sadly, we're probably going to continue to keep addressing it. But
yeah, it's something that we're completely against, and that's why we're going to keep calling out when we see it, because there's not many in the media now that are in for the right reasons and to report. They're just trying to get their clicks and get their headlines. So when we see it, we'll call them out, and you'll see it here too. If you're not on that cesspool Twitter sometimes. So all right, prediction time.
If you want a good follow on Twitter, Patriots Media Pitchbot, Pats Media Pitchbot. It's essentially a Twitter account that kind of pokes fun at all the reporters that are stirring the pot and trying to get clicks and everything. Let me try and pull it up while you go into the next segment.
All right. Yep. Sounds good. The prediction time. So Eagles are favored by -4, or favored by 4 points at -4. Over
so
under.
The name of the account is Patriots Media Pitchbot NFL, which is at NE Media Pitchbot.
All right. So I'll give them a follow if you are, because pretty much anything you're going to see there is going to be something similar that one of the kind of clowns that are out there will probably end up tweeting out at some point.
And there's also another one too, which has similar content, Boston Globe Pitchbot, which is at Boston Satire. So both of them are really good follows. And they pretty much poke fun at all the media members that are trying to stir the pot.
So if you like something like The Onion or the Babylon Bee, find those things funny, you'll find them funny. All right. Eagles -4, over under 44.5. One little bit of tidbit I did hint at last podcast or 2 podcasts ago. I wanted to do some research. So since 2000, teams that have lost in the previous year's Super Bowl are 4-19 in week 1 the following season, and the last 3 years are 0-3. So I had felt that this was kind of the case. So I wanted to dig in deep and see, because it seems like every single year there's always that setback for the loser, other than really when the Patriots lose. So I wanted to see kind of how that looked at. And actually, if you look at this, the ones that probably won are probably only the Patriots. Maybe. We'll have to do some further analysis. I didn't actually see what it actually was. So it might have just been the Patriots that won every time they lost.
Patriots won in 2008.
They won in 2018, right?
I don't know if they did. Yeah, I think they did.
Yeah, so they at least have half of the wins, probably all of them. I didn't actually look at what the teams were. I was going so quick to get them. So anyway, bringing that in just because since the Eagles did lose, it did give me a little bit more.
Yep, they won in 2000. They won in 2012.
Okay,
so that's 3.
So yeah, so they probably have all of them.
They only lost.
They only lost 3 times.
Yeah.
So they have 3 of the 4.
They have 3 of the 4.
So anyway, since the Eagles lost, I was like, oh, I wonder how that will be. I still, and the other kind of tidbit is that Hurts was one of the 8 starting quarterbacks not to play at all in the preseason. Last season, any of the quarterbacks that didn't play in the preseason were 3-8 in week 1. So knowing that, it made me like, I really kind of would like to pick the Patriots here. But just because all the question marks, the offensive line, and how they were last year, even though we know they're going to play a lot better, is it going to take a couple weeks to really kind of getting on all cylinders? I just didn't feel comfortable where I need them to show me a little bit more before I pick them. So I'm going to say 27-20 Eagles. Although I would not be surprised if somehow the Patriots pulls it off, especially with the weather being the way it's going to be. So it may end up having to be kind of more of a running attack. There's going to be a lot of rain and thunder, they're saying now. So it'll be interesting to see. So I'd pick the over. I have the Eagles winning it, though, but I would not be shocked if the Patriots somehow won this.
Yeah, the 2 points that you made are both really interesting points, and it makes the viewer think we're leaning that way. But one of the few times I'm actually picking against the Patriots for our predictions. I have the Eagles winning 27-23. I think even though, like you said, teams that lost the Super Bowl don't fare well week 1, I think they're still a very good Eagles team. They're returning most of their starting members. It's definitely a tough task for the Patriots. I'm interested to see how Bill prepares against Jalen Hurts and those weapons. But like you said, the offensive line is such a big question mark. Having a new scheme with a new offensive coordinator, it might take them a little bit. And typically, ever since since they changed the practice rules with the CBA in 2011, where you're not able to practice as much in the offseason and training camp, the Patriots teams usually start slow. It usually takes them about 4 to 6 weeks to really kick into gear to see who they are. Mm-hmm. So that might be another reason why they might not be at their full strength yet. Even though they might be almost at full strength health wise, they might not be at their peak yet. So that's why I'm going 27-23. I think they're going to still have some issues in the red zone where they're able to drive the ball, but they just can't convert. But we'll have to see. I definitely can see them winning. I'm going with the over as well. I wouldn't be shocked if they win, but just week one, really tough task against this really good Eagles team.
Yep, agree completely. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Sorry for getting this one up a little bit later than usual. Just had some scheduling conflicts and a fantasy draft that we needed to have in place. So the next week we'll try and get these up a little bit sooner, and then we'll have the breakdown of the Eagles game. Hopefully, a Patriots victory. But we'll see what ends up happening. And then a preview for the following week for week 2. So thank you everyone for listening. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. And follow us on Twitter, Instagram, at Pat's 300 Level Pod, and then Pat's 300 Level Pod.com. We got to start getting some more blogs up there at some point. Maybe some breakdowns each week of how they played and kind of the similar thing of the podcast. So maybe if it's something you don't have as much time to listen to and you have more time to read, if you're in the John, you need something to read to, we'll have something there for you. So thank you very much and look forward to talking to you guys next week.